Okie doke. So, I'm Beck Lane, this is Studio 120, and I'm continuing the conversations that I started the other day. And again, our friend Eric asked two questions in the comment section. Our friend Eric asked two questions, and I actually only answered one in the last video. And I want to answer the second one because I have a lot rolling around in my head, and he's kind of addressing them in a way, addressing what I want to chat about. His question that I didn't answer was what differentiates a dabbler, he called it a dabbler, from a professional, someone who paints every once in a while or for the fun of it, as opposed to someone who's a professional, which I consider myself. Because I am very lofty, I consider myself a professional. And to me, one of the many things that differentiates a dabbler from a professional is the willingness and the drive and the ability to adapt and change and to grow. And what you're looking at right now is actually an artist who is, I don't know how to explain it, but somewhere in my head, something in my head has been trying to get me to alter the way I've been painting, or evolve the way I've been painting. In my last video I talked about, if you go to my website, you can see there's an evolution, there's a flow, and I'll crash into a new way of painting, and I'll get good at it a couple times, and then all of a sudden it'll tank into, not quite dabbler, but just kind of cliche, and then it'll pull back up to the surface again, and it's a crash, and back into just cliche, and then back up to the surface again. And I've been riding this wave of wonderful luck, I guess. I don't know how to put it. You'll have to excuse me. I've never said this before. I sometimes lose my words, and I've joked about it umpteen million times in videos, especially over the past year. But I've had several head injuries, and last year I clonked my eye. That's part of the reason I have such big bags under my eyes. I clonked my eye into a tree branch and almost lost my right eye and sustained another concussion. And since then I've had a hard time holding on to words and also holding on to thought. And I wanted to explain that because it's gone beyond just a silly, goofy, quirkyism of mine, and sometimes it gets really frustrating. So now you understand. It's there sometimes, and then it's gone, or I'll get filled with anxiety and depression, and I can't hold on to the thought, or I can't find the word. Is more like it. So you'll have to pardon me. Now hopefully you understand why my speaking has gone from clear and direct and da-da-da to me going, okay, it's gone. I don't know where it went. It's because I've clonked my head too many times, which will probably bring up issues in the next few years, bigger issues, but there we are. Now you know. So the difference between a dabbler and a professional is the willingness and the ability to adapt and to evolve and to try new things, try things that you haven't wanted to try before. And we've talked about many times about stripping away everything that you know or you think that you know, and just letting that freak flag fly. Just turning off your head and tapping into that thing that I talk about in my head, the amygdala, and all this sensory in the center of your brain that fires and sometimes misfires with me, but fires and you can feel it in your soul. It's tapping into that. Some people do it through meditation. I tend to do it by binge watching. I'm able to let everything go a little bit easier. And eventually, whatever that thing is in my amygdala and all the little stuff around it, all the little bits of the brain around it, I let them calm down and formulate all on their own, and then poof, one day it'll pop out. I have a lot of reference material, and I've been going through it lately, things that I thought I wanted to do. And this is just part of evolution, part of the process, part of what we've been talking about a little bit lately. But I have stacks and stacks of reference material where I will plan out what I want to do. Paintings and paintings and paintings in advance. And that's part of what's sitting here. It's just some of the stuff that I wanted to do and tie it together. I have a thing for young boys on hobby horses. I love painting them, and I have dozens and dozens and dozens of images of them. And I thought, well, a few weeks ago, I'm like, I just want to do one of my hobby horses so I can keep continuing this collection that I'm trying to build of boys and hobby horses and develop a whole show around it. And take all these white boys on hobby horses, put them up, and then have an African American figure in the center, which would totally throw the whole concept of the collection. But I picked them up. I've been picking them up lately, and they've been feeling hollow. And that thing inside my head is saying, don't do it. Don't do it. I have the canvases for them, and I am interested in them. But right now, I'm listening to my head, and I feel this is what professionals do. They listen to their gut, their head. They listen to that thing that says, no. We need to send you in a new direction so that your head is able to refresh and your work and your technique is able to refresh. So as tempted as I have been to start these, I actually did start one 2 months ago, another one about a month ago. I ended up painting over them because my head is saying, something inside of me is saying, you have a new direction that you need to go in. I've been going through several books that have, oh my God, I hate this word so much. I hate this because I don't believe in muses. I don't believe that a muse is an outside source. But I especially hate the word inspire thrown into that. They all have bad connotations. They're all tacky. But I do go through, I have certain other artists that I look at to help make my head click. Not that I'm going to steal from them necessarily. I'm not going to steal from them because I think that's lazy as well. But I'm looking for that thing that will make my heart and my head click and sing. And then I can veer off in a new direction. I did that with the fish I talked about in the last video, with several different paintings. You can see it on my website. I can see growth and change and progression and evolution in different paintings where my head, I just had to sit for a little while and not pay attention to what I had planned. Not pay attention to my plans, but go down a different path and let my head get lost. And try and find, I love analogies, try and find a new way out of the woods that I've built for myself. One of the artists I go to is Alfred Stieglitz. This is one of my favorite books, Alfred Stieglitz. He was a man who transformed photography from just photographs of people in the studio, like you would find boys on hobby horses kind of a deal, or families sitting so happily together. He helped to transform it into, I think I painted this. Oh no, I used part of this photograph in a painting. Anyway, he brought it from a luxury and a record, a way of record keeping, to an art form. It went from stagnant portraiture to an art form because of people like Alfred Stieglitz. And Alfred Stieglitz put out a magazine, I think it was 1915 to 1918, I'm not sure, I don't really remember right now, even though it's sitting in front of me. 1903 to 1917, so it was a little, no, that may just be his work, I don't know, it was sometime. It was early 1900s. But he put together a magazine, and it was the first photography magazine in the United States, where he had other photographers that he was in a pool with, and he collected their work and he printed their work. And Alfred Stieglitz and these other photographers made photography an art form. So I go back here because it's so fresh, it's so new, it's so raw. It's just, some of the photographs help to clear out my head. So this is like the sorbet of visual for me. Another thing, and I'm just giving you a couple of tips here, or giving you examples of things I do when my head is clearing the way for me to evolve. I love dictionaries. I specifically love Webster dictionaries. And this is not a Webster. That's my Webster. That's one of them. I got a Reader's Digest encyclopedia over here. That's another thing that I love. But I specifically love Webster dictionaries because of the typeset. This dictionary I happen to love. It was my father's. Not loving the typeset quite so much, but once in a while, like, I'll just flip open a page and there's a word. I'll find a word. Ectoderm. That's not one I knew before, but I'll find a word. And the lettering, the text, the fonts, the definition, the way it's written will help my head to sort itself out. Yeah, that was my dad's, and now it's beaten to shit. Webster dictionaries, there's just something so magical and beautiful about their typeset, about the paper they used. I used to have 48 Webster dictionaries. I think they're still in storage up north. I had 8 different encyclopedias. I think I just have one now. And I don't think it's with me. No, it's not with me, which makes me sad. It's sitting up in a storage unit in Rhode Island. But there's something about the beauty of the text and the richness of the definitions, the way they're phrased, that I just love. And the feel of the paper and the illustrations, they're so signature. They're so clean. As opposed to my father's dictionary, which is a little bit of a mess. So it's books, it's binge watching, it's Stieglitz. It's sometimes for me looking at artwork by Toulouse-Lautrec, who was my favorite artist when I was growing up. And he was kind of he was an artist I looked to because he was such an underdog, as Van Gogh was. Unfortunately, now we look at him differently because we're looking in a rear view mirror at Van Gogh and the high prices that his work commands now, and the demand, that we've kind of missed the man and the struggles that he went through and why he had those struggles. You know, it's just glossed over as, tortured artist. You have to be there to understand it. And that is a man that completely evolved. He evolved. And I'm very passionate in saying, I think he was one of the most courageous artists we've ever heard of, we've ever known. Because he did go it alone. Not that he wanted to. He tried desperately not to. He tried desperately to build community and to be a part of this world, and he was not welcome. He was given one choice, especially in the last 5 years of his life, and that was just to paint. Life and circumstance and the world gave him one choice. And we're very, very fortunate that we ran with it. That he ran with it. Because he transformed the art world. He continues to transform the art world. He transformed painting and people's idea of what painting should be. So there is the long answer, Eric, because I'm really good at long answers. What is the difference between a dabbler? Van Gogh in the beginning was a dabbler. He was trying to stick with what he knew. And he was sticking what he was told he had to paint. Or what he knew he had to paint. The villages. He painted them a little bit differently, granted, because he showed us the grittiness of where he lived in his life. But then, just like I talked about, I said, a boy can't become a man if he's living under his mother's thumb. Well, to me, the mother's thumb is societal definition of what art is. So once Van Gogh stopped living under society's understanding of what art is, once he understood and he took it in. Hi, Kitty. Yes, Kitty. That his world, his life would be about painting and finding his work, his world, his life would be about evolution and growth and change within himself. And he understood that he really was a painter. He really was. And he was not, once he understood, once again, got lost, head injuries, okay? Once he completely absorbed, I believe, once he completely absorbed how singular his life would be, he was able to evolve. Let me put it that way. Once he completely understood and absorbed how completely singular, how absolutely singular his existence would be, he was able to evolve. So I am going to try and let my head evolve. Really, I started to say this. What you're looking at right now is someone whose mind is changing and is going to be tweaking. I can feel it. I've gone through this so many times now. My head is tweaking how I'm going to approach the next painting, because I cannot continue to do the same thing over and over and over again. I can't. I can approach this subject again, but not until I have changed my view, my intent, my technique, whatever it is that my head is deciding on. Maybe I'll know after I watch more of Fleabag, I'm not sure. This woman's been sitting with me for a while. Not that I really want to paint her, but there's something in there that I'm supposed to absorb and translate into something new, and I won't know what it is until my head sorts it out. I have been thinking about doing nudes, and I've been looking at this one painting by Frank Eugene, who was one of my favorite photographers. Frank Eugene did this nude, and I've been thinking about it, but I don't like to do nudes because women have only ever been sexual objects, and when you see them naked, that's really most of the time all they are is sexual objects. And I don't have any interest in making anyone a cliche, let alone an entire gender or race. Let me add one more thing, because I was also thinking about adding, as I said, the African American face, the African American figure to my Rocking Horse series. But I'm always afraid that's going to border on cliche. And I'm honestly not sure if that would make the African American child the impetus, too much of the impetus for the joke on all the white boys on the hobby horses or rocking horses. Yeah, so you're really watching, an evolution almost live. As soon as I sort this out, we'll start a new painting. I know I have several sitting on the in my sunroom waiting to be done, but I just haven't had it in me to paint, to work yet, as we're sorting things out. Okay, that's it. I'm going to go back to Fleabag, which is awesome, by the way. We're now to the sexy priest. Oh my God, I love this show. And hopefully she can help me to figure things out. Although the woman that wrote it and stars in it, and I can't remember her name, she's won a bunch of awards lately. I desperately want to paint her. She reminds me of the marvelous Mrs. Maisel. They have that same look and that vibrancy and depth. But I'm not really interested in painting white ladies, so we're not going to. Anyway, that's it. That's my big spiel. The difference between a dabbler and a professional. Evolution. Ciao. Ciao. Boink.